are the qualities that one would expect to find in genuine revelation from God? If the Creator is perfect and has knowledge of all things, then surely his true revelation must be free of error. Anything less than this can only lead to one conclusion: we are dealing with the imperfect words of man and not the divine. History has not been kind to Scripture. The vast majority of religious texts today have been passed down to us through scribal tradition, whereby manuscripts were copied by hand, word for word, letter by letter. Naturally, this method of preservation is prone to human error. Any mistakes, such as in spelling or missing words, made whilst copying, would then be transferred down every time a copy of the copy was made. Extend this process over hundreds or thousands of years, and you can imagine how much a text can change over such a long span of time, as accidental and intentional changes gradually creep in. This is why, for example, we find that there are a multitude of different versions of the Bible in existence today. It's not possible to compare the modern text to the earliest copies, because they were written on fragile and perishable materials, such as papyrus. Therefore, scholars of the Bible have the difficult task of sifting through thousands of later copies, all of which differ. And because the original copies have been lost, they can't agree on which surviving copies are most accurate to the original. So, each version of the Bible that exists is a patchwork of different copies combined together and represents what a particular scholar or group of scholars estimate to be the closest to the original. And so, for texts that have relied on preservation through manual copying, we can say that we have, at best, an estimate of the original words. We certainly cannot say that the text we have today is an accurate representation of the original. What about the Quran? The author of the Quran makes a bold claim. We have sent down the Quran ourselves, and we ourselves will guard it. God blessed his final revelation, the Quran, with something that was not bestowed on any of the prior scriptures. He promised to protect and preserve it from any corruption. Unlike other scriptures, the primary means of preserving the Quran has and always will be through memorization. And we have certainly made the Quran easy for remembrance. So is there any who will remember? Prophet Muhammad was tasked by God with memorizing, transmitting, and explaining the verses of the Quran to the Muslims as they were revealed to him. In turn, these Muslims who had learnt the Quran directly from Prophet Muhammad himself passed on what they had memorized to neighboring tribes and nations. This legacy of mass memorization has continued throughout history. This oral tradition spanning nearly 1500 years has seen the Quran being passed down from teacher to student in an unbroken chain going all the way back to Prophet Muhammad himself. Today it is estimated there are many millions of Muslims of all cultures and various ages who have memorized the entire Quran from cover to cover in its original Arabic form. In fact, if every written copy of religious scripture in existence today were to be removed from the earth, it is the Quran alone that could be recreated perfectly and restored in written form once again. This, thanks to its mass memorization. The oral tradition of the Quran is a phenomenon unique to Islam. If millions of people who have memorized the Quran can trace their oral memorization down centuries of teachers and scholars, all the way back to the Prophet himself, who could doubt the authenticity of this oral tradition? The amount of varying oral transmissions, along with the amount of people who have learnt the Quran, and the fact there are no discrepancies in what they have memorized, is no historical coincidence. The conclusion can only be that the Quran memorized today is the same as it was taught over 1400 years ago. There is no other rational explanation for this unique oral phenomenon.